What's up? Welcome back to Cyrus King Show. It's your host Cyrus King. Happy New Year's to everybody listening. This podcast episode, I'm gonna, I'm not gonna talk too much about it. Hip hop, right? I've kind of spoken about it enough over the years, but I put up so much material that I probably haven't spoken about hip hop much on YouTube, right? I mean, when I had my sci-fi channel, I remember I had a hip hop video that was pretty good in my opinion. I got a pretty good response from it. But in my this channel, I haven't really spoken about it as much. So it feels like when I say I've spoken about a lot, I think, what are you talking about? But it's interesting in a sense because hip hop is in an interesting and weird place in the sense that I don't know. You talking about in the '70s, right? So you're talking about like over 50 years old. It's in almost every country. And when it spreads, and I'm not going to talk about the international aspect of it as much, but from 2005 on, probably most influenced by the international. So meaning, I go back also, I go back to the 80s, right? So, I mean, it's kind of like almost when it began, in a way. I was a little kid, but so I go back from that and to seeing it, and I traveled many countries, many places, so I've seen it. And I've seen it grow, and I've seen it grow to the point where it's crazy because when you see it internationally, it usually has two layers. It has the homegrown hip hop, no matter what country you're in, and then the American version that gets exported out there. And you get little differences. Like if you're in Thailand, you might get some like UK rap that the Thais can listen to, and sometimes it gets mixed with American. Like you get that. Or if you're like in Africa, like Cameroon or like anybody speaking Senegal, French, African countries, they may play American hip hop, but they play French hip hop too, as well as their own hip hop. And then we got Afro beats and Afro pop now. So like it's crazy to see it spin, like to see it evolve like that. So when it comes to the whole debate about who created it, I mean, is it really a debate? Like on one level, I guess it is. It depends on your perception, right? So for me, like, I've kind of evolved, but I would always consider myself a Pan-African at heart. When I see hip hop, I see it's in America, mostly by Americans. It's got some assistance from people, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's people from the Caribbean. Now, what makes it difficult for most people is because hip hop is so huge. This is the problem. Competing, like saying, having these arguments is dumb because that's like somebody saying, like you see cars, right? Korean cars, Japanese cars, American cars. Cars are so big. Even the Chinese are making. They had a reputation as copying shit. Even they got their own Chinese cars, right? So cars are so big. Nobody cares anymore who made it, to be honest, right? Not really. Like every car market has their own car. So like if you're in Japan, you might import some shit, but you like the Japanese cars, right? So hip hop, I think it's beyond the music genre. That's the problem. It's beyond the music genre. Hip hop is almost like, so when we have these fights, it almost comes off like insecurity because when you in America and all you know is American shit, your perception is limited. Because I tell you the truth, the main reason why the argument doesn't even make sense is because back in the days, a lot of the Hispanics who were involved in hip hop, a lot of them could pass for just black, right? And again, we're talking I'm in the DNA able to shit. They're part black. And people in the Caribbean, there's almost no difference genetically between them and African American, right? So now when you take all three examples, you put that around the world, you're just going to see black people. So half these debates are like some tribalism and a lack of education on all sides. So when I say, 50-50 is crazy. If I say it's 50-50, it's crazy. It's not 50. Right? But at the same time, I can see why that came in because when we're having this debate at this point, it's really more rap. When people argue about hip hop, it's more rap. They're not talking about hip hop. For the most part. Like they say they all look, that we don't even say that. The youngsters don't even identify in America. You go to Brazil, you go to the favelas. No, people break dance. Like you get that. Yeah, they got karaoke funk in there, but when they go into hip hop, no, they still tag and they still break dance. But in America, a lot of people don't consider that. That's the problem. Like the problem with the argument is they don't know how big it is. I'm just be honest with you. Do they really know music like that? I mean, you're a fan of music, right? You're a fan of music. Being a fan of music, listen, you could be a fan of cell phones. That don't mean you know how to make a song. That don't even mean you know how to engineer and how it works to make a song, right? So like, if you take rap and call it hip hop, no, it's 100%. That's like it's not even close. If you put the other elements in, it's still not 50-50, but it's I don't know. I don't want to give a number, like 65, 55, something like that. But then you don't even care about the other elements. You don't even care about this stuff anymore. So, and that's not even a diss. That comes in when you're so creative, you move on to something else. So then when you're arguing about it, I'm not even here to argue about right and wrong. I'm here to argue. You can tell both sides don't know how big hip hop is, how powerful hip hop is. They don't know it, right? How hip hop now, you don't even have as much hits anymore. Like it's not, it don't even rule the charts in America as much anymore, and it's still number one genre, right? Because when you say 5 elements, and you say graffiti, you say b-boying, you say MCing, you say DJing, right? The fifth is always kind of strange. Some people say fashion, some people say knowledge, but the fifth is the one that I'm going to talk about. If you say fashion, it's about black fashion. If you say knowledge, it's about black knowledge, right? As Chuck D would say, what hip hop is the black man CNN, right? That's what I mean. You can see it. So when people come in because they trust that culture to speak for the people and the underclass. Then when it becomes commercial and you blow up and you're rich, you still have a different perspective than other rich cats. But see, when you're insecure, when you don't really know music, and people like music, and I say no music, you don't may know a genre, you don't really know music, you don't care about music. You don't really realize that, hey, it's true, when you talk about the 5 elements, half them elements existed before hip hop. There were some cats in the Bronx who called it hip hop. So like 3 or 4 that existed before hip hop did, right? And then, but all 5 of them together, you name it, you package it, and that package took over the world. And when that package took over the world, it decentralized, meaning, listen, what's going on in hip hop in South Africa is different than what's going on in hip hop in the Philippines versus hip hop versus other places where hip hop becomes tangled with the culture, so it becomes reggaeton. Right? It just gets tangled with the culture. Get that too. So in each spot, it becomes huge, and you don't even know unless you care what's going on in the other spot, right? So I'm not into the sport awards, meaning you're gonna say what you're gonna say, right? People gonna like you, people not gonna like you. Speaking. I'm of Caribbean and some Hispanic descent, so you're gonna say I'm a Texan, right? Don't bother me. It doesn't make any sense. Don't. You can say whatever you want to say. I'm not insecure like that. And at the end of the day, I make this video because I feel that no matter what, because it goes beyond the creation of hip hop. When you go to Drake, I'm not a Drake fan. I don't like nothing past 2007. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know when Drake came out. He might have came out earlier, but I can't name you 3 Drake songs. I don't fuck with that shit. It's not my thing. But when you call him a colonizer, it's fine. But the black experience is so strong. If you got some part black, if you got whatever it's 50%, 75%, 25%, what if it's 2%? 2% is a bit much. It is so strong, so influential, it doesn't even matter if you identify as black. That's how powerful it is. That's what it is. And once you understand that, nobody, and that's what makes hip hop strong. Even when you come in America, the East Coast started it, West Coast expanded, South took it, and they had the crown for so long, they don't look like they're going to give it up in America, right? And in each one, it has its own history. Yeah, there was one point, because you know what? Because you know why? Because even the elements like graffiti and some of those things and breakdancing was on the West Coast. The same time was on the East Coast. So the elements existed, and there was, spoken word. Some people say that was hip hop. You even talking about that shit, like that can go back 50s, 40s, earlier. So no matter where you stand in the argument, I say this to say, never take away from the fact that that art form, whether it's art, is so powerful, it can't even be defined anymore, even when people created it. Even when people created it, it can't even be defined anymore. Because some people are going to look at some elements of hip-hop and say it doesn't matter. Because if you did say it mattered, and other people holding that down, right, you would have a totally different interpretation. And I'm not here to defend that, because if you're even after 2010, if you a motherfucker listen to Shaq for 2010, you're gonna have you don't care about graffiti break, you barely care about lyrics. You care about album sales, and that's it. And so that's the reason why. That's why I go back to insecurity. When we come in and say, "Oh, country music was black. This one took it from us." You are the creators. If you wanted to right now, you could make a country song, and our black people support it, and then the whole world is looking at black folks as like the initiators, and they will copy it, and it would eventually outdo the country music that you're calling mainstream. You could take that crown anytime you want it, especially now. Especially now with streaming and social media, you could take it, you could come in and be like, listen, we got 5 artists, we all back that. I mean, I would hope you make good country music, and all of a sudden, you outdo the mainstream country music. So when you say somebody took my music is not like other genres. There's a spiritual element to music. If you got it, you got it. Ain't more like it. You could be a white boy, put some dreads on, right, and make a reggae song. But everybody's always gonna look at reggae as Jamaican. Hip hop's the same. So whether it was because half those arguments, and this is why I say 50-50 is kind of it's a bit much, because half those arguments, if you're a Caribbean American or Hispanic American or Latino American, you're American first, and so that's what you're making is not what the people back home are making. So in order for it to get co-signed, you still have to have the American stamp on it. So it could never be 50-50. Yes, no question. 50-50. And I, like I said, I say this to somebody who they'll call all kind of crazy shit, right? So I'm not even saying it like I'm not into kissing nobody ass. See, that's the problem. When people get into that debate, you gotta understand we're in a time of attention. People will do anything for attention. And you have to remember that when you have strong opinions about stuff, right? When you have strong opinions about stuff, in that sense, people would, I mean, it is what it is. People would kind of come in and they want to make content. And when they make content, right, they care about that content. So then they care about attention. They care about, yes, right? You know what? Hip hop is stolen. Hip hop is this. Hip hop is that. Other people try and take it. Like I said, if you really followed hip, I mean, listen, most people don't even know hip hop outside their region. How many people talk about they don't know what's going on West Coast hip hop? When Draco the Ruler died, I knew plenty of people in the South and the East Coast who didn't even know who Draco was. Just being honest. Nips died. People knew who Nip was, but didn't know who he. Some people didn't even know who he was till he died. So you're not even keeping track of hip hop in your own region. Come on, man. So that argument is childish, and it's the sport of games. When I say the sport of games, you all came off the same ships. We just landed in different countries. That's it. And I'm not saying this as a person who I don't kiss nobody ass, so you could call me what you want to call me, right? If you hear this video, I'm giving other people props and still saying you made hip hop to the FBA cats, right? It's still saying you made it, but I'm coming in and thinking about hip hop itself and thinking about what it could have been. And hip hop was huge. When you had the Arab Spring, what was it, 2010 or 12, revolution taking place all over Arabia, there was hip hop doing that. You don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about because you only can think about yourself. And it comes in because that art is now as big as airplanes, as cars. It's almost like saying it's like the lifeblood of what makes civilization. Some people, they'll say that's been extreme. But when you look at it, is it really? It's a genre that was not pushed by the machine. The machine will push it when it's really big. Every other genre, every other art form. I love combo movies, right? But the machine still pushes combo movies. Hip hop wasn't pushed. In fact, they didn't want hip hop to take, and it still did it naturally. No, that's art on steroids. And so that's why when I make this video, it's more for hip hop than any group, because I realized that this is the internet. This is social media. Motherfuckers gonna just want to say some shit for clicks, and people are lazy, and they just go by. 100,000 people watch a video. Maybe 2,000 will have some comments. Majority of those comments are negative, and that does not mean out of the 100,000, most of the majority of them feel like that. That just means the loudest person who's speaking usually takes the easiest route. The easiest route is to ignore history and culture and realize that we all came from the same, whether you Latino, whether you black, whether you Caribbean. I mean, let's say African American Caribbean. I'll even include whether you go even deeper and go in Native American, Samoan. That's just counting here. Once it spread out to around the world, hip hop's everywhere. The Inuits, First Nations, they banging hip hop in Alaska and Canada and shit. You went to Russia? Listen, hip hop is huge in Russia. Huge. It's everywhere. And where it goes, anybody, whether you're in Poland, in Russia, Croatia, Chile, right? Thailand, Japan, it's always associated with black culture. Not even, and if you don't understand that, because you're the type of person who, that's why Drake, you could talk about Drake's colonizer, but you need to look at yourself, because the Drakes and the Eminems always had the majority of music sales, but even the Drakes and Eminems at heart knows. You think you're hip hop like Harris One's hip hop? You think you're hip hop like Rakim's hip hop? You're not even hip hop like Tupac's hip hop. Check it. He may be disgraced. You're not even hip hop like Zulu Nation, African Bodies hip hop. You know, I don't have to call you a guest. That's immature. You know that is a position you could never get. And record sales by itself doesn't mean anything. Is Drake really hip? Drake is hip hop to people who don't really care about hip hop and only care about album sales. I'm not even dissing Drake. Like I said, I think he was treated unfairly. But he had it coming to him as well. So I want to say he was treated unfairly. I would say he had it coming to him. But I hope when people look back at his run, if you're into album sales, it was interesting. I would just say that. I'm not into album sales. Like I said, I can't even tell you 3 Drakes. I'm not even, you think I'm playing. Drake solo songs, I can't even name 3. I don't want to name 3. I don't give a F about Drake. But sometimes it's about being introspective and looking. I just like to observe. And I want to make this video for a while. And I observed, man, this conversation is getting cringy as fuck. Because half the people who will be fighting and saying other people are coming to hip hop, they don't even know the hip hop. You wouldn't pass a hip hop test if I made it easy for you. If I made it easy for you and look at the whole genre globally, you would never pass that. In fact, you wouldn't even pass it in America when we talk about all the subdivisions of hip hop. Right? All the subdivisions, subword, like drill was a subdivision for a long time. Drill's popular, but there's people who still don't know drill like that. Because it's that big. Like when you make cars, do people know that almost Africans making cars now? Everybody making cars. It wasn't made by one group, but everybody's making cars now. It's the same shit, it's planes. Everybody makes planes now. Well, not everybody, but planes is not just where it started. Expanded worldwide, right? Hip hop is that big. Hip hop is that big in the industry. So, I hope you have a good new year. For whatever you may feel, remember this. This is social media. People make anything for content, including telling you what you want to hear for 10 minutes. That's all it is. It's what you want to hear for 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes comes and goes. And people move on to somebody else. But it just produces an environment that kind of blocks the greatness of the genre. Siris King. Till next time. Peace.